So if you were talking with an agent that was just licensed and freshly minted, what would be your feedback for them of the top areas to put their focus onto to become a professional agent?
I would honestly jump right into the listing side, and I'm kind of biased on that, but I feel like there's a huge misconception that when you first start off that you need to start with buyers, and that's not true. But the reason why I say to start off on the listing side is you're starting to build your geographic area that you're farming for listings. You don't have to jump right into expired listings, but you're having these conversations and through time, they will start panning out and you can scale your business a lot easier that way.
Well,
Yeah, they just get the little condos that some of the local agents don't want that much or something like that. Get started on some of the smaller stuff and then work their way up.
Yep. Just have the conversations because a lot of agents get caught into how they're going to do something, but they don't actually do it. So pick up the phone is that's going to be your number one best friend.
It's that time. Welcome to Roadmap. How to take 3 listings a week until you're ready for more. Each week we interview a great agent who's taking several listings each month, and we have an exciting guest today. So make sure to take a lot of notes, and because we're going to be presenting some really awesome information, and then use the copycat principle. Let me introduce first my co-host, who's an amazing co-host from beautiful little Camp Dennison, Ohio, which is really greater Cincinnati. Sarah Close. Welcome, Sarah.
thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And Sarah co-owns a number of Keller Williams offices all around Southern Ohio that serve Northern Kentucky and parts of Indiana and the southern half of the state. And you run a pretty powerful team selling a couple hundred homes a year. Couple hundred, is it?
Couple hundred is the goal. That's exactly right. Yeah. So
And
we're off to a good start.
Pardon?
We're off to a good start. So can't complain.
Good. And then you got 500 or 600 agents.
Yeah. Right now, just about right around 560.
560. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good number. That's
all the good ones.
Did you take all the good ones in
We
town?
took all the good ones. We got a good group. Yeah.
Good. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's get our guest in here right away.
Awesome.
And this is a repeat guest. We had her on back in June, almost 4 years ago, almost just shy of 4 years ago.
World 4 years ago.
I know. And she's a very competitive market, an amazing market. And I would love to be in that market. Myrtle Beach, Ms. I don't know pronouns anymore. Katie Engler.
There we go.
Welcome,
Go with
Katie.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me.
Katie, thanks for being here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Glad you're here. So a lot probably has changed. A lot probably remains the same. You're probably just knocking them out of the park every day, but maybe a few more balls go out of the park.
That's hilarious. Yes, we're definitely scaling, and you're right, Ren. It's still several listings a week, and of course that's not always every single week, but we try the best that we possibly can, and we're growing.
Good.
Great.
Fantastic. So what does that look like? What's the goal for sales this year?
Yeah.
In say units.
Well, last time you spoke with me, it was just my husband and myself, and now we kind of fluctuate right around as like a team of about 12. So our goals are vastly different. My goal for this year would be right around 40 million.
Holy crow!
So what
you've got a dozen, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
In your market, how many units is that for you guys, Katie?
It really varies. I personally like to do anything over 400, so I'm going to have a little bit less, number of closed sales than someone doing more transactions. But I would say that would represent probably close to about 70 to 80 sales.
Awesome. That's very exciting.
Good number.
Very exciting. And then talk to us a little bit about like your business breakdown. Like, are you guys 50-50 listings buyers, or do you tend to weight more heavily towards listings? What is that anatomy for you guys?
Sure. So, personally, as the team leader, I want to say 98% listing side. The rest of it's going to be buy side business from my listings.
Mhm.
The team, some of them are complete buy side by choice. I give
Sure.
them that choice of which way they want to go. Some are blended, and some want to only do listings as well. So we leave that up to them.
That's awesome. And how are you guys structured? What is the org chart, if you will, inside your organization? So there's yourself, there's your husband. Do you guys have a support team, or how do you guys take care of that group?
Sure. So we're still growing and figuring it out, but right now, I serve the role as team leader. My husband is sales manager. I have a licensed agent on my team that is also in production, but a big part of her role is our transaction manager and admin. I would like to add another admin to the team and an ISA, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I got you. It's baby steps. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Where do you see your business coming from in 23? And then I guess I would also say as an add-on, what changes have you guys seen, if any, with some of the market dynamics over the last, since maybe August of last year?
Sure. So I think that, I'm trying to teach our team to go out and seek the business and not wait for leads to be the only source of business. It's a great supplement. And I mean buyer leads by that, by the way, just
Yeah.
for clarification. Um, Going out and seeking those leads is exactly why I wanted to come on this show today. I've seen tremendous success by going out and calling for listings and building a listing side business. The more they can do of that, the more success I think we'll see in 23. Changes, as you and I know, we've seen a correction really since, I want to say, peak summer months in our area. We've felt it. It's
Mhm.
definitely not going under contract in 24 hours anymore.
Sure.
We actually have to face the challenges of selling a house. And now more than ever, it is very, very critical to price homes correctly,
Mhm.
as that padding isn't going to be as forgiving.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So are you're still doing listings, and obviously you're now taking care of a flock. Are you doing lead generation still yourself every day?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. And what does that look like for you? What is kind of the structure of your morning? I know that you guys have two little people too, so you've got some extra layers in there. So how does, like, if I'm going to find you before 12 noon, where would I find you at different parts of the morning?
Sure. So the first and foremost, it's expireds first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
For me, I want to say it's right before 8 o'clock. I'm not very comfortable calling much earlier. I've seen success about 10 minutes to late. And that data, of course, is coming from Vulcan7. I would never go anywhere else. I've seen tremendous success from it and will continue to use it. I just think that the reliability and how you feed that data allows me to call so many more people effectively than looking for someone to speak with. So
Yeah.
that's my first step.
Mhm.
Second step would be helping my team that's prospecting. So if they're facing something, we may get on a call together and go back and call that person again.
Mhm. Mhm. That's great. So do you find are most of your calls through expireds, or do you have other channels that you also call on a consistent cadence um, to supplement your expired business?
Sure. New expireds, old expireds, for sale by owner. And I'm getting more into circle prospecting. I really had not had the time for it before now.
Mhm.
But that's going to be really needed to start filling that pipeline for 23.
Sure.
But yes, expireds, new and old for sale by owner, and now calling around just listed, just sold.
Yeah, so that's actually, if you could just kind of, and I don't know that everybody's familiar with the term circle prospecting. Like, what does that mean? If I'm circle prospecting, what am I doing?
Yeah, so circle prospecting essentially is a geographic farm done by dialing. So you can pick it. Some people do that by just listed or just sold. You can do it on your own or ask your broker permission to call around any of their listings because essentially the broker holds them all. So
Hmm.
you would find one, find a geographic radius around that, and start calling them, letting them know what you just sold or what you just listed, and trying to pick up business that way. I
Very
would
cool.
recommend going on your MLS and finding a neighborhood that has a high, like 10 or 11% turn rate to do that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no sense calling if no one's moving. So
Right.
that makes a lot of sense. And then for your lead gen schedule, how long do you budget for doing that on a daily basis? And is that every day, or is that like a 4-day or 3-day a week, or what does that look like for you?
Um, I work every day. I wish I could sit here and tell you that I had a exact schedule that I sit down and make calls. But I can tell you that I'm calling every day. That might look a little bit different by the day today,
Mhm.
but it's happening every day. And the consistency is something that I am teaching my team to know the value of, because you could have a bad day. You can call and nobody wants to meet with you for a listing, and
Sure.
you do it enough, and the next 2 days you could have 4 listing appointments.
Right.
So consistency is key.
I think that's a really nice point that you bring up, that that you have to be, I'll call it almost like, give yourself some grace with your schedule. I mean, when you have a family and when you have things that come up, I think it's really important to have that mental dexterity to say, yeah, it wasn't exactly at the time that I planned it today, but that doesn't mean that I didn't get it in. So
Right.
that's a big deal, because I hear that a lot. It's like, oh my gosh, my morning got away from me. It's like, well, where's your afternoon? So, it makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's really reassuring and reaffirming to know that, even someone that's producing at the level you are still doesn't have necessarily, that rigidity that we all long to achieve. So that makes a lot of
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah, that makes a
Absolutely. I mean, for your new expireds, if you can get on the phone early the day of, it's only going to make your life easier. But for everybody else, like, as long as you're making your calls daily and doing it consistently, you'll see the results from it.
oh,
And
that's
I would have to think that for sale by owners, and especially old expireds, you can call them any time of day, and it's not as time sensitive as that fresh
sure.
expired that morning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's
Day of.
plenty of work. There's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
For sure. It's just day of expireds are really the only exception to that rule that I
Yeah.
have found. And you can even call them at any point in the day. You're just going to have more objections.
Yeah.
Right.
A
Or
little
that it's still required every hour past 8 a.m.
That's
So
right. That is a good point. That is a very good point. To switch gears a little bit, talk to us about for sale by owners. What are you finding in that lead generation silo right now? Like, what is your process with them? How often do you find that you call them to get them to convert? Do you have any hacks in the for sale by owner world that you found are useful that you could share?
Yeah. I want to say most of my business that I personally did last year was for sale by owner. And a lot of people are like, how does that even work? Because they seem harder at times than expireds,
Mhm.
because they're not sold on the idea that an agent has the value, right? So, first and foremost, come from truthfully, I know so many people have said this, but it's for a reason. Come from a place of true contribution, and don't think about getting the listing first. Think about truthfully helping these people and asking open-ended questions as to why they're choosing this pathway.
Mhm.
And they will tell you through that conversation, maybe the second conversation, depending on how far you can get, of how to sell them. And really, that's by helping them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So are you doing like preliminary consultative appointments with them, or are you just giving them market feedback on the phone, or what things of value are you finding that you need to bring to them in order to build that trust for them to let you in to their world?
Yeah, so a lot of agents have different ways of going about it, none of which I think are wrong. But just my way of going about it, I don't personally preview anything. I do want to come right out and say, I would love to assist you by working as a team and getting your property sold. And here, I'm very data driven. Here's
Mhm.
the evidence based on the last X amount of people that I've helped in your zip code, in your neighborhood, whatever the situation may be, and I'm confident I can do it for you. Let's get together for 15 or 20 minutes so I can show you how to do that. So it's really more of, let me show you how I can help you, and then
Mhm.
you decide whether that's going to be the best decision for you or not.
Would it
Awesome.
be fair to say, and in the area of for sale by owners, that if we look at last year, because a lot of agents are like, oh, the market's terrible now, it's so much harder. But I would think of for sale by owner last year, like you said, there were offers in 24 hours, could get easily discouraged might be there 2 weeks later or a week later or 5 days later, and it'd be a lot easier to get a listing in that category than it was a year ago. What say you? What are you seeing in Myrtle Beach?
I think that before we saw a correction, at least I know that nationally we have, but really just speaking on a local level, I think before we saw the correction, for sell by owners were selling on their own here because the padding that I had referenced before could be so far off that even if they didn't know how to price themselves or market themselves, you mix that with a lack of inventory to the tune that Myrtle Beach was seeing like less than 4 days worth of inventory.
Yeah.
They were just moving before we could get to them.
Right.
Now it's easier to list them in the capacity that when inventory rises, people have more options, which is less of a reason to look off market to find them.
And so therefore expires should be the same way. In other words, if you're listing property, and even if you're working with buyers, it's bound to be a little easier this year than last year. But everybody's like, oh, the rates are too high. But that's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, am I missing something? Or is it this year a lot easier than last year just because it isn't quite so insane where everything sells in 24 hours?
Yes, I think in a lot of ways it is easier in that capacity where your client, especially as a buyer side representative, you have a minute to sort of get your ducks in a row and your client can wrap their head around, okay, I saw 5 houses today and I don't have to make a decision in 30 seconds that is for the rest of my life.
And last year it was, you had to say, okay, so here's the thing. You need to pay all cash, no inspections, and you need to go about 20% over list. I mean, where are you going to find that buyer?
Exactly. Yeah. And we do make those comparisons to help people understand the interest rates right now of would you rather go back to where we were before and pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over asking, or would you rather have a slightly higher interest rate? Because you take that amount of money through time, and I don't really know that we're necessarily in a different situation. The money is just playing out differently. So,
and the payment's probably going to be exactly the same, except for the fact that as interest rates abate, you can refinance and lower it. So you can't do that if you paid 20% higher. So.
Marry the house, date the rate.
That's right. That's exactly right. That makes all the difference.
I would think people listening to this, if you get discouraged, you don't want to have been in the market a year ago, although they were. I would think this is bound to be a lot easier because you got a half a chance.
Yeah. Well, coming into the business, like for the newer agents or agents that maybe have been in a while that haven't been in this full time, or for whatever reason, now you're just sort of getting your traction. I do think that it's going to be a lot easier. The agent pool is going to thin out a little bit because it's not as easy to get a house under contract, but it's normalizing. So you can start to learn this process a lot easier and have these conversations easier than you could last year.
I'm not sure if it's normal going from a 2-month supply of homes to 3-month, but it's on its way. It's on its way. You mentioned 4 years ago, you talked about, and I would think it would apply with expireds and for sale owners today, that you take the time to listen to what they're saying to you. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, you get in rapport and the trust is built, and then the process of getting the listing seems to come more naturally. Is that still part of the philosophy with the 12 people you have now?
Absolutely. I want everyone to embody the fact that we're truthfully here to help, and we're not here to burn and turn clients. So I want a referral business not only for myself, but for each and every one of them. And the way that you get that is by providing overvalue, right? Mm-hmm. Going in and saying, listen, I don't know if we can help you or not, but we're here to tell you exactly what our advisement would be and why, and help guide you through that as to what that would look like for you specifically. And you can tell us if you feel that we would be okay to represent you. It's okay if we're not all right for everybody. But we just go in there confidently.
A little more of a thoughtful conversation versus, and coming in contribution, as you said. So people can feel that. So I was impressed last time, and it stuck in my mind that you spent a little more time asking questions, and thoughtfully getting an understanding of where they're coming from. And then based on what they're looking for, weaving it back into the conversation.
Yeah,
absolutely. open-ended questions is everything. Try to get used to not asking something that is easily answered in a yes or no answer.
Sure. Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. Are you guys doing anything to cultivate business out of your sphere of influence or your past client database currently?
Yes. So now that we are transitioning to this Boomtown platform that is a lot more, in my opinion, capable of segmenting your lead data, everyone's going in there. So listing side by side, it doesn't matter, past client, just someone that you think could potentially be a client. Everyone is going in there and will be tagged appropriately within the system so that we're having those appropriate touch points, no
Right.
matter who you are. Yeah.
It's a lot better than having them on following along on Zillow.
Yeah. No, we definitely don't want that.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
because everything leads back to you and you see the activity and you see when the interest is there and when they're highlighting things. And then I guess that makes it a lot easier to know when to circle back
Absolutely.
or to send suggestions. So.
Yeah, and I think another thing for those might be new that are watching or wanting to start prospecting for business, that just because it isn't an instantaneous thing right now like it was in just call it the height of summer, that doesn't mean that that same person that you thought was definitely a no doesn't turn into a yes. I just signed a listing that took me 15 different touch points, and another one that took me almost 20. And that's over a span of a couple of months. So don't give up and know that these people will do business with someone, and why not have it be you? So stay in front of them.
And I don't think there are any patterns, because we've certainly all seen where you talk to somebody at 9:30 in the morning and they're ready to go. So,
Yep. Yeah, and that's still out there for sure.
Yeah. Come on over. Okay.
They're not all instant. Yeah.
See you in a minute. I'll be right there.
Oh yeah, you can still run into that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very exciting. That's very exciting. So if you were talking with an agent that was just licensed and freshly minted, what would be your feedback for them of the top areas to put their focus onto to become a professional agent?
I would honestly jump right into the listing side, and I'm kind of biased on that, but I feel like there's a huge misconception that when you first start off that you need to start with buyers, and that's not true. But the reason why I say to start off on the listing side is you're starting to build your geographic area that you're farming for listings. You don't have to jump right into expired listings, but you're having these conversations, and through time, they will start panning out, and you can scale your business a lot easier that way.
Yeah, they just get the little condos that some of the local agents don't want that much, or something like that. Get started on some of the smaller stuff and then work their way up.
Yep. Just have the conversations, because a lot of agents get caught into how they're going to do something, but they don't actually do it. So pick up the phone that's going to be your number one best friend.
Yeah. What do you think there? I mean, you've got 560 agents, and you see the new ones come in the door, and you're right. Our industry is all about, hold some open houses and tell all your friends and work with a bunch of buyers. But, they get worn out. They're showing all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and they have no life and no income, and with all the multiple offers, it's still a little tough. Wouldn't it be easier to get a listing?
I always think it's always better to get a listing. Maybe not any easier, but it's certainly not any more complicated. So
Takes less time too.
Well, I think the average is 32 hours to get a buyer under contract and 8 with a listing.
Yeah, and you don't have to write the contract.
It's true.
Over and over and over.
Last. No, I think we're going to see a lot of things like what Katie's describing, with this moving to a more skill-based market and to a more value-based market. I think it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal environment for professional agents to really be able to showcase their skills and to be able to gain market share that was kind of pilfered away by some of the hobbyists over when it's been kind of high cotton the last couple of years. So I think it's a really critical time for professional agents to kind of retake the hill and secure that market share that they can carry through their career. So, listings are the pinnacle. That's the tip of the iceberg. It's,
you're the inventory.
That's right. That's right.
The
Very
work.
cool. Well, Katie, this has been extremely helpful. I love seeing what you've accomplished in such a challenging market with challenging. The question is it a good market, a bad market? Depends on what side you are on. But I would call it a challenging market for any agent over the last several years. And I'm really excited with what you're looking to do with your team. When you think about the upcoming year, you talked a little bit about your volume goal. And what other types of things are you guys seeing in your kind of your future path as you think about how you want to develop your organization?
I would like to stay, under 15 agents. And the reason for that is, like I mentioned to you a little bit before we started this formal interview, I want to be the leader that's truthfully there for you, that I can parse out my time and make sure that whatever questions you have are answered, that I'm training you in depth, not surface level, because that's how you get better is exposure from that training. So I would like to keep it inside 15 agents. I'd like to add an ISA. And I would just like to, service our clients and internal to our team with the same thought process, which is just first class service.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
good. And it sounds like a quality operation already. So, and that, and just watching this process from the last time we talked to you and this one, you've got something really good going on there. By the way, one of our employees lives there, but I don't think she's going to be selling anytime soon. But I think one of her kids may move there. So we should hook you up.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
So that actually brings up a great point. So Katie, when someone is looking to get in touch with you to refer you business, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Text me. It comes right to me. I always have my phone in my hand. It's 843-798-0909.
Awesome. That's a great number.
Thank you.
Gotta love the repeating digits. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for spending time with us today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been very, very insightful.
Very
Well,
nice.
likewise, and I really appreciate you having me back on, and it's just super exciting.
Good. We look forward to catching up with you again and watching as this continues to unfold. But it sounds like it's right where it ought to be. It's a beautiful business.
Very
So
cool.
Congratulations again for building a wonderful business and being in a wonderful place.
Thank you so much. I couldn't do it without your absolutely wonderful data either. So
Well, we appreciate that a lot too. Thanks everybody for being here. And
Thanks for having us, Ren.
Yep. Thanks
thank
everybody.
you.
Katie, it's a pleasure. Thanks again for your time.
See you
Likewise,
guys
thank you
next
so
week.
much. Take care, guys.
Take care.